You've done all the legwork behind your personal brand. You've thought about your core message, your core audience, all of these really important things. You've already done all the legwork to think about it, and now it's time to action it. Crap. If you're tired of the old cookie-cutter marketing advice and want to take your personal brand to the next level with bold, actionable strategies that truly reflect you, you're in the right place. Let's untangle your marketing mayhem with Zoe, the video confidence coach, on the Unboring Your Brand podcast. Unboring Your Brand was recorded on Wadawurrung land. As the title suggests, we are talking about how to create a content plan without burning out. So, what is content planning? Before we officially get started in today's podcast episode, content planning is essentially how you deliver your message to your audience. I was about to say your core audience. I am saying that an awful lot, so my apologies. But content planning is how whatever format you decide to get your message out there. Because we love the idea of having a structured plan. Yes, we do. But hate the idea of spending hours glued to our screens, glued to our books, churning out content like a machine to feed the unholy algorithm. And I use unholy in that correct term. But if you are a personal brand builder or a small business owner, you need a marketing plan that actually works without driving you insane or driving you to the brink of burnout. So, how we're going to do that? We're going to break it down in 5 steps. These 5 steps include setting realistic content goals. I know that's something we all love to do, but don't worry, we'll get into it. Step 2 is choosing a core content format. 3 is repurposing like a pro. 4 is batch create and scheduling in advance to reduce the overwhelm. And step 5 is giving yourself permission to take breaks. So let's get into the episode today. So first of all, as you've been doing the work regarding your personal brand, and don't worry if you're listening or watching this and you're a little bit confused going, Zoe, I haven't done any of this work yet. Do not worry. Check out the other episode of the Unboring Your Brand podcast because you'll definitely become up to speed. And if not, you can always reach out to me for a free complimentary 15-minute chat on my website, bcc.training. All right, Zoe, stop talking. So, when it comes to marketing of any business, be it a large business like, your Coca-Cola or your Amazons, all the way to your solo micro businesses, everything needs to be starting off with realistic goals. And that goes for your business, your marketing, every aspect of what you do. So setting realistic content goals is always a good place to start. So the way that you do this is instead of posting every day, because it sounds good in theory, or it's something that you've seen other more established brands do, it's not until you actually do it, or maybe it's not until you actually realize that you also have to run a business at the same time. And even for those who are just focusing on a personal brand, at the end of the day, it is also a business, because your personal brand you are using to leverage to make sure that you gain influence and that you gain accreditation so that people ultimately pay you at the end of the day. If you're doing this for a hobby, I take my hat off to you. You are definitely an outlier. So when it comes to your content goals or how you're going to be spreading your message out there, now I'm not talking just digitally here. I'm talking about any way that you are presenting yourself to your potential audience. You need to choose a frequency that fits your schedule. Whether it's twice a week, or fortnightly videos, consistency is key, not just quantity. And one thing that I will remind my fellow personal brand builders here is when you see other people, when you compare yourself to other people, you don't necessarily know their story, what they've taken to get to that level, but also what they're doing every day to make sure that you are seen, that you are seeing them on your feed, that you are that they are constantly in your email inbox, that they are in every single podcast advert, wherever you are seeing them or seeing them regularly turn up for you. They are working their asses off to make sure that you remember them and they stick in your brain. So for us who are possibly solo or maybe a small team who are building a personal brand or who are building a business, you need to think things realistically and things you need to set yourself realistic goals that you're able to achieve over time. Because burning yourself out is just going to lead to wastage. And I don't mean wastage in the sense of just wasted potential. I mean just in your own self-worth a little bit, because burning yourself out, especially over something as what can seem very trivial as marketing yourself, can feel very confronting and also just very sad. So when it comes to step 1, we set realistic goals. So we start small. We can always go bigger. We can always go bigger. We can always go higher. We can always go home. We can always start small. It's better to stick with one, for example, for social media. So one solid post per week without burning out after a month of daily posting. Now, of course, as step 2 can attest to, choosing your core content format. The way that I like to work on a marketing strategy with either solo personal brand builders or even people with small teams is, the best way to put it is, you don't need to be on every platform. I'm going to say that again. You don't need to be on every platform and do everything on said platform. The way that you reduce the overwhelm and also the burnout, and also be able to make sure that your core message is getting through to the right people, is picking one main format that is based on what suits you best and what your audience best reacts to. Now, this can be as something as simple as, if you love talking, starting a podcast or having a regular video series. Now, of course, this requires effort, time, setup, and possibly some skills that you may or may not have. You might need to hire someone for that. But again, what is a thing that you can do consistently over time? Do you like talking? Doing a podcast or a video makes sense. Do you like writing? Doing blogs and articles and newsletters makes sense. Do you love short form content? Well, relying on social media posts, reels, TikToks, those type of things are where you should put your focus. Why? Because you like doing them and your audience reacts best to them. And it's something that you can do over time because you like doing it. And if you don't like doing it, then don't do it. For example, I am someone who is only recently, and probably as you watch this, I will definitely be in the midst of it, getting into article writing, because a lot of my target audience and a lot of people that I work with love to read articles, love to read blogs, and where they find their information is where I want to be seen. So to do that, I need to hitch up my big girl pants and start writing articles. Now, I'm not very good at that. I'm dyslexic and words scare me. So what I do is I use the format or the core way that I like to do things, which is I like to yap, as you can imagine, by this podcast episode and the other podcasts episodes in this series alone. I can start yapping and talking. I can transcribe my thoughts. And then from there, I have a base. I can start working with it. I'm not precious about it. I can start breaking things down and using formats that are already out there, like templates that are already out there for the best article or the best blog or whatever. I can start building that process, start putting things in where they need to be. And then I run it past a good friend of mine where we contra a bit of work. And for those who are not in the business world, a contra is essentially a deal where, hey, I send you something, I do something for you. It's a equal exchange deal where no money is changing hands, but you're doing work for each other. So I do that I'm going to be starting to do that as of next week, but I'm going to be doing that on a regular basis because I found a format that works best for me. And in turn, I am making sure that I am where my audience is looking. Yes, it may not be the best for me, but it is going to work. It is going to make me seen and consumable to those people who are ultimately going to trust me and who are going to refer me to people who I can help and I can serve. Once you've then nailed down your main format and how you best communicate your message, everything else will flow from there. Why? Because you like doing the work that you're doing. And also you'll make it easier because you will feel like it is less of a chore. If it's less of a chore, you end up doing it more. I think that's a good tagline. I might keep that. Step 3 is repurposing like a pro, aka work smarter, not harder. So one piece of content, and as we mentioned before about the ideas, is using one piece of content and creating it into multiple pieces of content, because this is how you get the reach without suffering through creating new stuff all the time or creating stuff every 5 minutes. Because your message is not going to be seen and heard by everyone every single time you put the message out there. You yourself are probably going to get bored. And I know for myself that I can get a little bit bored of my own messaging and my own talking sometimes. That is, I know that's very hard to hear, but I do sometimes get bored of my own talking. So in those instances, a lot of people maybe will see or remember, and that's the key thing to remember one thing about your business. And to do that, you need to make sure that you also repeat yourself, but also repurpose the content that your message out there into multiple different formats. So an example of this is, say for example, you record a 10-minute video and this video goes onto your YouTube. Awesome. But that video, the transcript, so the words that are being said, can also be taken out and edited slightly, as I mentioned before, and put into a blog post, put into an article. You can then chop that 10-minute video, you can chop it up into short clips for social media. You can do this by hand if you have the skills, and if you don't have the skills, maybe hiring someone else to do that for you, or utilizing AI tools and services like Opus AI is something that I use. Keeping in mind that AI is still not as good as human discernment just yet, so making sure that you spend that time to actually look at what's being outputted, by the way. But you can also use, so again, this is just one piece of content so far, and we've already gotten 3 ideas out of it. So we've got the 10-minute video. We're also turning that into a blog post. We're also turning it into shorter clips. We're also turning it into a podcast episode that you can then put either on your own podcast, or if you have any friends who are in the industry, or maybe somewhere where they can, you can spotlight your stuff on someone else's podcast, maybe start shopping that around. So you've also got that piece of content that you can also use on a video, on a podcast, I should say. You can also use the key points that you bring up in that video into tweets, into LinkedIn posts, into thought leadership messages that you use. And this can be countless, by the way, because a 10-minute video is surprisingly long in the amount of messages that you can put out there. And you can also send those highlights in an email newsletter. Everything I've just mentioned is from a 10-minute video. Now, I'm going to tell you now, there's a good chance that if you're watching me and if we vibe, you can definitely talk for 10 minutes about your core message and about your core subjects. Because the way that you are helping and serving people, you are not doing this for fun. You are doing this to serve them. And it's because you are passionate about what you do. You can definitely talk for 10 minutes about what you're passionate about. It helps, mind you, to have a script and to think about those dot points. But in the meantime, you'll be able to see how repurposing can open up a plethora of ideas for you, and also make it a lot easier and a lot less stressful for you to think about everything that you have to do when it comes to content marketing your business, or your personal brand, I should say. The content is ultimately the same, but it's being reshaped into different forms so that different audiences can not just consume, and I want to stress, and I want to put a little highlight here, is it's not just for people to consume your message. People are definitely going to take action, not the amount that consume your message versus the people that actually take action from your message. But there are still, the people that are taking action are people that have seen your face, have heard your voice, have heard your message multiple times before they take action. Used to be a minimum of 7 what are known as touch points, essentially is how people's message get to you is what is known as a touch point. And it used to be 7 because, of course, we used to have a lot less advertisements in our face. We had a lot, but not that many. Now, of course, with the rise of the internet and everyone being accessible via a digital device, that is now, the amount of touch points is now 14, 16, 20. And that may seem overwhelming for someone who's starting out. It's like, how am I going to get someone to remember me if I need to be in their face 20 times a week? I'm going to tell you now, I can understand that can seem overwhelming, but that's where this content plan comes into play. You're able to use one piece of content, stretch it out across multiple different methods and forms so that the audience that needs to hear your message will hear it, will see it, and repeatedly hear and see it. Have a content bank. So this is something that I like to call a content library as well, is where you can store older posts or quotes or ideas to reuse later. Because just because something was viral or popular for you once doesn't mean that you can't use it 60 days later again and get even more reach from that message. No one has to reinvent the wheel every time. And even people who are everywhere are using the same core messages, the same ideas, the same content over and over again. Why? Because it's easier. And that's the same for you too. So, step 4, batch, create, and schedule in advance. So when it comes to creating a content plan for yourself, being able to set aside a few hours a month, or usually what I recommend for clients who are starting out, usually a couple of hours a week, just to get that ball rolling. So again, you can build up that content library. To be able to create multiple pieces of content in one go. So this way you're not waking up in the morning thinking, I haven't even posted today. I don't have anything. I don't have a template. I don't have a message. I don't have a script. What am I going to do? Stop the burnout. Stop the implosion by, especially when you're in the mood or when you schedule time to create a bunch of content in one go. This will allow you to do a couple of things, because hopefully you've already been thinking about your core idea, and hopefully you've already also been writing those ideas down. So when you've got this hour, 2 hours on like a Friday afternoon, or say a Sunday morning, or like whenever you have the time that you have set yourself, that you've scheduled in, by the way, from there, you're able to look at your list and go, okay, I've already got 6 ideas. I don't need to think of them on the fly. I don't need to rely on my brain to try and run like a hamster on a wheel to try and come up with these ideas. I've already got a list, because past me has already done the work. How many times can you say that? So when you're able to do this, you're able to do it all in one go. So instead of you having to, do everything on the morning of or try and create things from scratch, you're able to create things all in one go. So it's a lot easier for yourself. And you're able to schedule this content using scheduling tools. So like Meta Business Suite. So this is for your Facebook, your Instagram, and your WhatsApp. You're able to use things like Hootsuite, Latter, Buffer, Planoly for automatic posting on social media platforms, and also your Google My Business and other platforms like that as well. Keeping in mind that those last ones are paid tools, but are very much in the case of like whatever your content plan is, you can definitely trial out something for 30 days to see how it works for you and what you're going to try and do. And then maybe it is a good thing to invest $15, $30 to be able to achieve those things in an easier way for you. And think of it like meal prepping, except for your marketing. So you're able to use all the tools and content that you already have in your bank, because especially when you do this by end of month 3, you will have a library of content that you've already used, and you can start reutilizing posts that you made 3 months ago that have, again, your core message and everything ready to go. So you're not constantly creating from scratch. Always have a few evergreen posts ready to go. So an evergreen post is what I like to call is a post that's not necessarily related to any political events or any news that's related to what's going on. But it's a very, not clean message, but more a message that you're able to use. And then you can post that again while providing some more context in, say, the description of a social media post, so that you're able to use it again on those weeks or those days where you have no energy. You can just use older content again. And your audience, I'm going to tell you now, like I mentioned before, not every single one of your audience members is going to see every single message that you put out. So it's okay to reuse that content again to make it work for you and your brand. And the last thing is, as you can imagine, give yourself permission to take breaks. Your audience won't vanish if you miss a post, if you miss a week. I'm going to tell you now, there is a feeling of like, oh no, I haven't posted this week. I'm going to lose my audience. The algorithm, when it comes to not just email newsletters, but websites and social media and other forms of marketing yourself or your personal brand can feel quite daunting, because even the people who've created these algorithms don't know how they actually work. But if you need to take a break, if you're feeling overwhelmed and you need to scale things back without quitting entirely, that is better for you, your standing, and the way that you conduct yourself, not just online, but in person. If you need to scale that back so you don't quit completely, that is better than just quitting completely and not posting for 3 months, 6 months to a year. Because I'm going to tell you now, people, when they find out about you, either through word of mouth, through a podcast that you've been on, through a friend, through an article, whichever way that you're repurposing your content, people will find you and they'll go to a social media platform, or they'll go to wherever they find you online. And if you haven't posted, they're going to assume that you're out of business. They're going to assume that you're not taking on any clients. They're going to assume the worst. Because that's what happens with businesses and brands. If you don't post, people go, are you actually doing things? Because you're not showing the proof that you are. So in those moments, having something there is better than nothing at all. And I'm not saying that to scare you. I want to stress, I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying that just to remind you that even posting once a week still shows that you are active, that you are believing in your core message, and that you are helping and serving the people who you claim to be helping and serving. So the content planning should support your business and not the other way around. Your marketing should not be ruining your life. So if you ever feel burnt out, or you feel like you're on the brink of burning out when it comes to the marketing or your marketing efforts, take a pause, take a refresh, and come back stronger. Reuse some of that older content from that content library. And if you don't have a content library yet, maybe use older posts that worked really well in the past. Even if they are maybe slightly outdated, just use them again and make sure you give that context in the description. A well-rested creator, personal brand builder, business owner is way better than a stressed one. So, my final thoughts on consistency without burning out. Marketing isn't about doing more. It's about doing what actually works consistently. A content plan should make your life easier, not harder. It should not feel like a bulk load of work. It should be able to something that you can work on over time. Yes, it may seem like a lot of work from the start, because any climb is going to take some energy and effort. But once you are less than halfway up, you're able to turn around and look at all the work that you've created, all the, if we're using the mountain analogy, all that mountain that you've been able to climb already, and you're not even at your goal. You're not even at the top yet. So in those moments, being able to take that pressure off and repurpose content that you've already got and schedule it ahead of time so you're not just thinking on the fly. That way you can focus on what you do best. Running your business and brand and actually enjoying it. And hopefully serving your customers at the same time to the best of your abilities. And that best of your ability is not stressed. So let's go plan smarter, not harder. Thank you everyone who has been listening and watching today's podcast episode. Make sure to rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts. I would love to hear your thoughts and any feedback that you have about the Unboring Your Brand podcast. I want to do my best for you and cover topics that will help you grow your personal brand. So let me know what I can do, and if you can give me 5 stars, that would be great too. Love you. Thank you for listening or watching Unboring Your Brand. You can find detailed show notes with tools, offers, and episode transcriptions. Just click the first link in the description or go to vcc.training/podcast. Get involved and ask me anything about personal branding, video strategy, or just a friendly small business chat via my email, g'day@vcc.training. That is gday@vcc.training. The Video Confidence Coach would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which I record my podcast. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I stand with the traditional custodians of these lands in working towards a more equal future. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Look forward to me chatting at you next week, superstars.